Okay, hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We have special guests, Adam and Claudia from the Purple Eagle Tribe. We will be talking about the Healing Compass program and some of the things that they are working on that are very complementary to our work, particularly around how it's helping people overcome depression naturally. As you all know, enrollment and doors are open to the Healing Compass program this week, and it's open only until this Friday. So, and we also have a special bonus for those who decide to join this week. So feel free to visit us at join.psychable.com/HCP. We'll post all the links in the description. And so let's get started. For those of you that have been following us for a while, you know that I am the CEO and founder with Psychable. And really with Psychable, we are so selective in who we feature and collaborate with. And these two individuals are such a glowing example of what it means to be a practitioner that is safe and with the highest integrity. And for those that are new to their work, I'd like to invite both Claudia and Adam to give a brief background of themselves. Adam?
I'll take it away. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you for this opportunity and for the invitation and for the shining example of integrity and safety. Like for me, if I'm working with anyone, whatever that modality may be that I'm working with, like that's what allows me to allow the process, the healing, the talk, the session, whatever that might be, right? For me to really relax into that space, right? And it's like knowing, is that practitioner or am I doing the work myself, or they're doing the work themselves? Consistently learning, consistently being a clear vessel of what it is the space being held, and really checking in on where there's different agendas and projections and things that are coming into the space. So, it's been an absolute joy over the last decade. It really goes all the way back my entire life, but over the last decade to really be diving deeply into self and beliefs and thoughts and judgments and fears and all the things with this amazing framework that we work within to be able to consistently notice when anything comes up and moves, and things do. I mean, we're human beings living in the world, and I'm a human being living in the world, and there's different stresses and things that can cause triggers, but how quickly I can work with that trigger and convert it into a gift, as it's said in like A Course in Miracles, like the holy instant to turn fear into love. And so that's really been our journey, my journey over the last decade, and then being in beautiful union with Claudia, both aligning with that same framework that we work within, the transpersonal framework, to be able to actually apply that in relationship and then bring that forward to other relationships as well, with other frameworks that we built in with regards to relationship with self and other, to create a clear and clean and integrated space. Yeah.
Yep, and thank you. Thank you again. Honored to be here for this opportunity. And yeah, so just adding to Adam, and I've really been on a journey of self-discovery, and I had a spiritual awakening back in 2012. Prior to that, I really felt alone in the world. I wasn't sure, that there was something, a higher power. And that really illuminated, opened things up for me. I went through divorce. I started my life again and got really clear about who am I, why am I here, what's my purpose. So I went on this like deep self-discovery process. I happened to come across the ashram where we did our Kalinatha yoga teacher training. So we have the yogic background, where Adam actually happened to do his training. So we were both brought together through that training. And then I've always been, open and a lover of personal development, anything that has to do with the human potential movement. And so actually Landmark was one of the first programs that I did that just completely transformed. And that's, really what the foundation of the integrity and everything that we hold so sacred in our work. And then from there, continuing on with other modalities, energy work, and then landing in the certified, in the transpersonal psychosynthesis framework, which is what we utilize today to help our clients find the harmony and alignment.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I was just saying, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. And really by way of background, how we met was through a really huge psychedelic alliance, right? And really being able to spend time together, even on a one-on-one basis in person. And really our collaboration with each other just continues to grow, continues to blossom. So more to come around that. But today I really want to dive into your perspectives on depression and really what that is, and really what do we need to consider when healing, particularly from mental health issues. And so Adam, Claudia, I'd love to hear any perspectives and insights that you'd like to share.
Mhm. Would you like to take that?
Sure. I think one thing that we the three of us in this group align with is the holistic wellness, right? The holistic healing approach to health. And so when it comes to depression, right, it's like it's not a one fits all. It's not just this is a one thing you must do. You really have to consider all of the different aspects of the self, of the health and the wealth. And that's why I love so much your program and your 12-step program that really covers all those bases. And then where we really come in is with the, again, transpersonal, right? So bringing that wholeness, that holistic view of the self, and identifying what may be those parts of self that may sabotage you, right? So you can work on those parts, integrate those parts, and really achieve that wholeness that then can allow you to be able to receive and take action on the things that you need to create the harmonious unity of all the different aspects of the self. And so really excited for the work that you're doing to be able to bring this forth to help people move through depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, to add into that just a little bit, working, we work with groups and I work with men, Claudia works with women, and we work with couples. And, and one of the common threads that I've seen is like there's a hyper focus on one particular domain of life, like within the compass, the healing compass that is being brought forth is such a beautiful offering. Fact that there's one facet of that compass that we really feel aligned into, like holding a space for. So there's like the holistic, all the different aspects with regards to things that pull out of into depression, into anxiety, into addiction. Addictions can be simply oversleeping, or going into one particular modality excessively, and then these other aspects that are equally as important to this whole self in the center pull off. So that there's the transpersonal aspect, where internally within the self there's these different conversations and aspects of self. There's the sub personalities and things, but then there's also different triggers in our environment, right, that you highlight so beautifully. So like if I'm doing a bunch of talk therapy and I'm able to notice when there's a part of myself that comes up and where it comes from and have that conversation, but I'm continuing to put inflammatory oils and refined sugars and things in my body that can cause that trigger to be a little closer to the surface. It's like, where do we get to look at this whole person, right? So like we love that we get to be within that whole person, within the self, but then there's the environmental whole person. That's where we really align with what you're offering, and are so overjoyed to be considered as a part of your team, really. So this is what's there for me.
Yeah, I was really struck by your naming like the whole person, right? Because oftentimes the way that I think the conventional Western framework approaches is like compartmentalizing, right? Oh, like you have mental health issues, let's just focus on what's of the mind. You have a heart condition, let's just focus on the heart, right? It's just so compartmentalized, where like what you so beautifully articulated is the importance of looking at one individual as a whole being, right? An integrative perspective, the mind, the body, the soul, and the spirit. And so I'd love to hear, and if you can sort of expand deeper on why holistic healing, why holistic approaches.
I, what what's there for me is like when I first learned of the gut microbiome and the impacts and the inheritance of that microbiome from upbringing and mom, you know, in utero and these different things, and that there are certain markers and things like that, that if I give myself the raw materials and supplementation and the daily practices of meditation and time in nature, time in the sun, time at the beach, how I was noticing a sense of peace, almost like a vibration, like I ingested some kind of spirit molecule that was like within me. And it first started when I was doing these transformational trainings known as gratitude training years ago, where it was like really bringing my life in all the different aspects, business, relationships, personal health, spirituality, recreation, all these different domains, right, into alignment with what I felt that I could hold in my capacity at the time, not trying to be something other than I was. And then also getting really in alignment with like my yoga practice, which is health and fitness and mental, right, at the same time. So I love yoga. And then being able to go deeper into some you know, some other traditions where I was able to go deep within the self and find connection with spirit and find connection with parts of myself that I was telling myself that I didn't know I was telling myself along the way. And so why? For a sense of well-being, you know, to gently take steps in each one of these directions concurrently, rather than like, oh, I've got where I am now in this top of the mountain of perfect peace, or healed gut, or you know, healed body. Like that seems so insurmountable. But just starting with like the next step, and then being able to plug into a community of individuals such as you and us and the people that are all coming together, so that we don't have to find, like, even for me, find my way through the weeds of like this practitioner and that practitioner, and then go invest in the thing and come back out and feel like, whoa, I just took 10 steps backwards because I didn't even, that person wasn't vetted, or, you know, that wasn't really what I needed. Energetically, there wasn't a match, or whatever that might be. So like that, for a sense of well-being, to seek clarity, you know, like when I can find peace within myself, and I can, you know, find a step by step in my nutrition, and give time to be out in nature and take time with my beloved and my children, there's that overall sense of peace. But it's really about balance and the tools to find that balance as well, which is where the practice comes in.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a check, we're done. It's a lifestyle change.
Yep, yep. Yep. And I love to add, you know, if you look at nature, if you look at the universe, if you look at our bodies, right, we don't operate independently. The parts are not operating independent of each other, right? They're systems, and they're all being influenced by what's around it and all this different, you know, all the parts. So when we look at that, and we can understand, right, that that's how we operate. And so one area influences the other, which influence another. And so then we can really understand, you know, that it's going to take that holistic approach, right? Understanding all the different aspects that come together that make the whole, right? And so, you know, your environment is a reflection of your inner world, and what you do in your physical environment affects the insides. Like we are connected. You know, some of you may hear like the oneness, the unity consciousness. We are one. We are all connected. We're connected with everything. So it even goes beyond just looking at our own self and all the parts. It's like how we interact with each other, and then how do the communities interact with each other, and really creating that that system, that holistic system to view things, right, as all one, connected, and then be able to, you know, to bring balance, like you mentioned, to all the different aspects of the self.
Yeah, I remember when I was first starting on this journey, when I was still, you know, I would say in the depths of that depression, really navigating that space. I came from a perspective that, you know, only if I eat well, or like if I just eat, you know, the salads, maybe if I, you know, just cut out tomatoes out of my diet, or maybe if I just go work out, that everything will be fine, right? And it was just like trying to cobble all of these things together and kind of Frankenstein it together. And then I'm still kind of like, why am I still feeling so off? Why am I still feeling this way? And, you know, I think that's really when I I just, hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, it's like at some point you just want to give up. You just want to totally give up. And like, and I found myself at that point of giving up. And, I think what was really interesting was, at that giving up moment of like not seeing a reason to continue living on, losing all sense of purpose to life, was when there was this beautiful calling with plant medicine that came in and entered into my field, which, for those that aren't familiar with the story, was, in a span of a week after being in like complete isolation for several months and going away from the world. In a span of a week, I had a call from 2 different people in my life out of the blue, sharing with me how plant medicine, specifically ayahuasca for them, was very transformative for them. And for me, I was, I came out of the corporate world, I climbed the corporate ladder, I, worked on startups and always walked the straight and narrow, grew up in the church, right? Like, to me, this idea of plant medicine was just so foreign to me. And I had so much stigma around it. But after, just feeling like I've exhausted all of my options, that this was something that was really calling to me, and really sitting with why this thing was coming into my field twice in a week. And so, doing all the research, deep diving and down in that rabbit hole, right? I really came to this epiphany that, at this point, there's really nothing for me to lose. And so I had to really sit with the fear, like the fear of the unknown, the fear of like, what is this thing? The fear of all the stigmas and the narratives that played into what plant medicine, what is attached to plant medicine and to psychedelics. And having this really profound come to Jesus moment with myself of like, well, what's on the other side of fear, and what's on the other side of death? And the word freedom came through for me. And literally 2 days later, I jumped on a flight to Costa Rica. I sat with medicine for 4 nights, and it was the first time I was lifted out of my depression. And so what it was so beautiful was that was the reset that I needed, because I was just so at sea. Right. And so what was really interesting was how psychedelics and plant medicine came into my life and really gave me the reset that I needed. But really, it was then what was the integration afterwards? What is the aftercare afterwards? What is the lessons that I needed to learn from the medicine and how do I embody it in my day-to-day life? And how do I continue to like learn to love myself, take care of myself, take care of this physical container, so that I can continue to be the fullest expression of myself. So I can continue to stay in alignment and live in alignment with who I am and what my life purpose is. Right. And so, I think that's really the impetus of why this program, because there is the psychedelics component, and many people, because this is now more in the zeitgeist, they're running towards that. We also know that it's just one component, just like talk therapy is just one component. Nutrition is just one component, right? And so this is why there's the 12 steps. And it's also the invitation of what are those things that we need to bring to surface to understand and to see, and how do we bring those invisible forces at play to bring that awareness so that we can actually start implementing and embodying in our lives, right? Because if we are consistently in a state of illness and sickness, how are we able to even bring awareness? How are we able to even have the energy to then even apply the knowledge? Yeah. Right. So I think that's really what well, not I think, but that's what I know. That's why we really, come from that integrative, holistic, natural perspective, and really enable the body to really start to fully heal. So I'm curious if anything you'd like to add anything to that reflection.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, it's huge, right? When you have that like opening, and then, you know, that awareness that the psychedelics created for you. I have to say, for me, was my spiritual awakening. Like, I used to suffer from depression before that, and, you know, in my teenage years, a lot of people dealt with that. When I had that spiritual awakening, it was like, wow, I'm not alone. And I really think that the psychedelics, they open those channels for us to receive this knowledge, right? For us to receive, like, wow, I'm not alone, right? You really connect to your higher self. You really start connecting to these transpersonal aspects, which is why we're so connected, so passionate about this transpersonal work, right? Because when we're just looking at the world from the ego eyes, and you feel like, wow, I'm just a speck, is this real? You know, like, it can be a lot. It can be a lot to overcome. So, you know, really, you know, what was coming through is like, because you know, psychedelics it's a powerful tool. It's not for everyone. I really feel like everybody feels the call, just like you heard it twice and you're like, okay, it's my time, you know. It's really beautiful how it all works together in such a way. And they do really open up this channels to receive more information, but without that integration aspect, right? Without really grounding in, I'm like, okay, what am I going to change my daily habits, right? Well, how am I going to be taking making different choices, taking different actions on the everyday? Like, that's really what allows that healing to be long lasting versus just a quick fix that we're so used to. Like, okay, I feel better one day, and then 2 days later we're back at that, you know. So I really feel like, you know, working through that protocol, when the holistic healing really produces that long lasting change, and then opening up to, you know, to just channels to receiving information, whether it comes through the psychedelics, whether it comes through meditation, whether it's visiting an ashram, you know, whatever it is that's close to your heart, that has had a profound impact in my life, and in finding that peace, you know, with oneself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to echo that, a couple things that came through you were speaking. I love this analogy of a human being having all these different parts. You know, the health part, the gut part, the mind part, the body part, all these parts. And it's like a guitar, you know, but if that guitar over time isn't kept in tune, it's just like we're trying to play this song of our soul,
Right.
of what wants to come forward, but it's like it's out of tune. So each one of these aspects of self, right, can just like ding, 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 and we find this chord that's like this harmony. And in that feeling of a strum and a guitar, to let that vibration carry in through the body and then out through. But then noticing also where there's for me, I'm almost 49 years old. So I've got almost 49 years of programming. This is how you do things. This is right. This is wrong. These people are good. These people are bad. This is hot. This is cold. These people are rich and these people are poor. And then there's these beliefs that get made up along the way that create that chord. And is that true? You know, and I think that more and more people, when they get to, even for myself, I got to a certain point where I was like, this doesn't feel true to me. You know, so it's like it moved out of the mind and down into the feeling. And, you know, I've heard so much about this, and it actually, I notice it on a daily basis that 8 billion different human beings in the world, 8 billion different movies of the self, 8 billion different projections of what is and what is not true. But so many of the 8 billion are walking around in this, like, I need to figure it out. I've got to be the best at my corporate job. I need to have the finances be this certain way, or I'm going to be that. If they only knew that I was I was using this analogy in a call earlier. It's like a snow globe, just like all these thoughts just shaking up, and there's not that time to let things settle, or, you know, and then be able to see clearly what is being revealed. Not that slow globes aren't beautiful, but you get the analogy. Like each one of those pieces, each one of those snowflakes is a different thought. And through like psychedelic medicine and breath work and 10-day Vipassana retreats, and all, you know, there's so many different modalities that can be like taking this elevator down from the mind. The mind is a beautiful servant. but it's becoming more and more and more, in my perspective, especially in the business world that I operate in development things, that's like the main aspect. But yet there's this way to come down into the heart. And there's that little bit of fear of the unknown, at least for a lot of men and women that I speak with, about, well, if I don't keep my mind engaged and sharp and keep doing the things that I already know how to do that keeps me safe, and I go out into this heart space, people could take advantage. What happens? I won't know what to do. But this is what I need to do to survive in the world. But then all these individual aspects of humanity, the 8 billion, are walking around, many of which are closed off, like they don't even feel this heart resonance. And in like a psychedelic experience or in a retreat, ashram yoga retreat that I've been on so many, after a day or two, the veil, the shield kind of gets dropped. Some fast, quicker than others. And for me, in particular, I had a lot of armor around, the heart, because it's like, I don't want to be hurt again. Because when I do this happens. So that's even like depression in and of itself, because it's disconnection. And especially after our world changed in 2020, so much disconnection of even being in person together, what it means to actually learn how to, and to your point, like sitting, whether it's psychedelics or meditation, or to sit in the heart space for as long as I sit in the mind. And then I learn what it is to feel comfortable and kind of take a seat back into the chest. Like my chair creaks as I lean backwards, like I learned that can become a new normal as I am unwinding the 49 years of doing it this way, which was leading to depression, which was leading to anxiety, which was leading to, I already know what I know. It's said in some places, like the directions to get out of this box are on the outside of the box. And that's where these other modalities and people that are willing to hold space for others and bring forth whatever the gifts are that person has, whether it's acupuncture, gut health, transpersonal coaching, psychedelic facilitation, whatever that might be, to hold a space to be like, it's okay to actually sit over here in the heart. And we are connected. We are connected with ourselves. We are connected with each other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so struck by, just the naming of deciphering between what is of the mind and what is of the heart, right? We oftentimes have so many different parts that, oftentimes, create noise and all that. And so it reminded me even of a client session that I was in yesterday, where we were like, okay, is this narrative coming from your mind, of the ego, or is it actually coming from the heart? And then that slowing down, being able to decipher between the two. And that's so critical, because then is it, oh, this is of my mind versus this is of my heart. And if this is from my heart, maybe then that's an invitation for me to step deeper into my alignment with who
Exactly.
I am and what my life purpose is. Right.
Yep.
And there was just so many beautiful things that you were naming, but I think one big thing about just working with practitioners, right? And Adam, you had lightly touched on this, was the aspect of discernment. The discernment of who you work with, who you choose to engage with, who you choose to collaborate with, and even in these like healing containers, why it is so critical to be discerning of the practitioners that are really helping support you through that healing process. And so I'm curious if either of you can comment a little bit more on that, the aspect of discernment.
Absolutely. I mean, it is becoming increasingly, it's always been important, but I feel like now even more important. It's becoming increasingly important to be discerning of who, especially with the psychedelic, facilitation, because we are really opening ourselves up, right? You're coming into a space, you're opening your heart, you're really, it's almost like you're putting yourself at the hands of the facilitator in the space. And, our teacher, actually, she's from Bolivia, from the Andean traditions. And, she's come to me and she said, most people actually are safer with you than they may be with facilitators from the jungle, right? Because you never know, right? It's like they don't understand, like they may know how to serve the medicine, but they don't understand all these other aspects that really come into right? Maybe any medications, different things like that. They're not aware of. And so what I would say is, trust your gut, trust your intuition, right? Your intuition really always knows that when you interact with someone, you're invited to be with someone. If you feel something like, oh, just trust that and maybe inquire a little more and take a look at how they're living their lives, right? Because one thing is the facade or maybe the persona that they can be portraying about being a shaman or a medicine facilitator. And many people dress up for the occasion, right? With the feathers and everything. But just lean in, ask some questions, take a look at how they are living their life, because that will tell you, are they living in integrity with all aspects of their lives, right? And then you really be able to know, like, okay, yes, they have family, they have all these different aspects. Then you can continue the step forward. And of course, Psychable is an amazing resource, right, to find those facilitators that are trustworthy, that are living in integrity. We are huge on that. We know the safety that comes along with living in integrity in all aspects, to the way the organization in the house, to ourselves, how we're taking care of ourselves, how we're handling things. Because when you're inviting someone into a sacred space, right, they're going to be influenced by all of you. And so we want to make sure that we are empty vessels, right, that we're really showing up as channels, so that all they are exposed to, it's just the light, it's just their truth, right, and they can actually relax and surrender, which is such an important piece of facilitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and whatever the modality is being facilitated, primarily, like I said, with emphasis and maybe an exclamation mark next to psychedelics, because of the things that get opened up and that level of trust, it's really about, for me, if I'm going to go sit in a space, like, what is the reverence that the different psychedelic offerings are being held with? What is, the honoring, like the energetics, and this is all like a feeling, right? It's not like, oh, I need to know what your intake and on your form of, like, how do you hold these with reverence? It's like really word of mouth. There are, like giving time to actually have a connection with whoever that I'm going to go sit with in a session, or that anyone would go sit with in a session. Everybody's got their own things, right, that they align with, and they can feel, does this feel safe to me or true to me? Reverence, honoring of tradition, and also a framework, like working within, let's say, transpersonal psychology coaching, which is like working with the lower unconscious and the super conscious, is essentially a lot of what psychedelics have an opportunity to do. They can open up this God consciousness, and they can unearth some subconscious things that are being carried that could even go back, if some people prescribe that there's not, lifetimes, let's per se, or in our ancestry, in our lineage, right? But being able to bring those into the present moment and have a framework to work within, versus like, here, take this, go sit in darkness and be in your thing. There is beauty to that. There's not like either or, but it's really about that. And also, if there's a lot of facilitators that we know that are over in certain areas where they're working in a therapeutic sense, and it's a one-to-one session. But when there's more and more around groups, the discernment of what that group is, who is in that group, and how are the facilitators curating, for lack of a better term, the group dynamic in the space and the intake process. And like, what is that? And is the facilitator actually referring an individual or a couple or whatever that might be to other mental health counselors, or different functional medicine, or different ketamine therapy, different things that, if there's a history that a person's challenged or holding something heavy, versus just like, oh, let's just take them into a plant medicine ceremony, it'll fix everything. And that stuff comes up and it spills out all over the room, you know what I mean? So the safety component isn't necessarily about the plant, or it's not necessarily about the facilitator, and it's not necessarily about the group or the space or the altars or the energy, but it's all of that. And being able for the facilitator to be able to zoom out and take a look at all that, and make sure that the space is clean, go through their processes. How are the medicines being prepared, grown, carried, loved upon, like, what does the altar of that medicine look like? you know, it's not just a thing, because these medicines can pick up different energies along the way based on some ancient, you know, traditions and teachings. And so like that clean vessel of the space, of the person, of the group, of the medicine, of all of it. And then whatever comes into that space can be held in that space of love, like Claudia mentioned, you know, for anyone who wants to facilitate, like, is that channel clear? And are there some things to work on? Because even the guy with all the feathers in the tribe down in Peru, there can still be distortions, right? You know, and it's not wrong and bad, but it's just to notice where those distortions are being worked on in that moment, so that when they're sitting with that person, that's what they're doing. There's not this other agenda coming through. And
Yeah.
for every
For them.
one last thing, for every other amazing experience in the psychedelic realm, the fact that that isn't like open and like everybody, because there is that stigma, and there are experiences where there's been, you know, some things that we've received, you know, people can see on any website, or, you know, Google it, and there's these, oh my God, that was terrible. And so it's like really, really important in this revolution or renaissance of these different conversations to create. And that goes with anyone. If I'm going to go work with a functional medicine doctor, like, are they just working within this particular framework and just prescribing me these supplements because that's what we're supposed to do, but not checking in on my genes? You know what I mean? Like, there's just being holistic about that approach.
Yeah, yeah. And
Thank
I
you.
think that's kind of bring it on back full circle is just really, I think that's really what I think what you're also touching on is really as practitioners meeting people where they're at, right? And whether or not you're ready for something like psychedelics or not, that you're also being resourced. And I think just bring it back to even, you know, what we're offering here at the Healing Compass program, it's really helping you learn, right? What are those foundational principles so that it gives you a fighting chance of like healing in today's modern world and also being able to thrive, right? And also coming down to like understanding how you can discover those root causes that are also underneath the surface, and enabling to boost your mental health, sharpen your focus, restore the energy, and really, as you so poignantly said, having that strong supportive community to lift you up, to continue to keep you accountable and inspire you. Ultimately, this is about you becoming the CEO of your health, of your body, right? This is for you to be free, for you to have that sovereignty, for you to have that agency over yourself. And so I'm just curious, as we are coming to time here, if there is anything that you'd like to share with our audience of the work that you are also doing. You're going to be the practitioners that are also going to be part of the Healing Compass program, but also can you share with our audience some of the upcoming special events that that you are also offering as well?
Yes, thank you so much. We're so excited. You know, as I mentioned, our transpersonal coaching framework, we're launching in November. We're launching our year-long inner journey, and so we're offering 2 master classes. One is coming up this coming Tuesday. It's called Self-Discovery and Spiritual Alignment: The First Steps to Transformation. And then on October 1st, it'll be our 3rd masterclass. We're going to be talking about harnessing the power of the will and how to turn intentions into reality. So we're really excited about that. You know, if you're interested, you can visit us on our Instagram, Purple Eagle Tribe, and you can click on the link tree. We have all the information there. We already posted one masterclass, so you can access the replay as well. And yeah, we're very excited for this offering, and we'd love to see anybody who feels called to that in our class for the opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, and the integration aspect of that plugs so beautifully into the offering that you're offering out into the world, right? Like it's just, so we can go through this year-long journey of transpersonal, right? But then there's where the clarity and then the act of will comes forward, right? So then being able to implement and bring in different guest speakers along the year-long journey to speak into different aspects of health, or craniosacral and somatic therapies, and different, you know, it's so beautiful. When we first met you, Jamie, we're like, oh my God, this is exactly what we're bringing forth. But we really are highlighting the transpersonal aspect and like coming through. Like I can be doing all the things and being all in the ceremonies and everything, but when this trigger happens, how do I have the tools to work with that? And that's really what we're bringing forth. And yeah, it's and in community, so it's in a group setting. And in that group setting, there are also, you know, one-on-ones and in-person retreats and this type of thing where you get to work with Claudia and I. But being in that group setting over a year, the community that gets to hold each other, you know, accountable and be a space for one another, not to be alone, is such a beautiful aspect of almost everything that Claudia and I do together. So thank you for asking.
Yes,
So yeah,
thank you so much.
purplelegaltribe.com or Purple Legal Tribe Instagram, Purple Legal Tribe Facebook to see all the links to all the things. And we're so honored to be part of the, you know, Healing Compass
Yes.
program and work to, you know, to keep bringing something so beautiful to humanity
It's so
in a
needed.
time that's really needed,
Yeah.
you know, in all these conversations of mental health and depression.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, as part of our Healing Compass program, we have a VIP component, which we are curating a beautiful in-person 2-day ceremony with Adam and Claudia at their private estate in Florida. So thank you both so much for this beautiful time together. Thank you for sharing your gifts and your energy with us. Folks, if you're ready to start your journey to wellness and finally become the CEO of your health, of your body, now's the time. I encourage you to visit join.cyclable.com/HCP. If you think you've tried it all, I can guarantee you that you have not tried this. You don't want to miss out. It is truly a groundbreaking, revolutionary program that we all have poured just decades of our deep research, our love, our passion, and just the wanting for your highest good and your highest healing. So thank you all for being with us today. Thank you for joining, and we will see you all very soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.